Well, hello there. Welcome to Craft with Kathie.
I have an interesting project tonight. I saw this transferring and how you see something and you know it just resonates with you immediately. Well, this one did it for me. I'm coming at you from the suburbs west of Chicago. Drop me a line and let me know where you're viewing from. This transfer is called Not Bossy. And it says, not bossy, just aggressively helpful. So because it resonates so very strongly with me, because truly, this is me. I'm trying to learn not to help all the time unless somebody needs help or asks for help. But I have the tendency to kind of jump in and want to fix and help everything all the time. And I'm trying to learn not to do that. I'm trying to be a little bit more sedate in offering my help. Because there's a difference between somebody who's just venting and somebody who needs help. So that's where I'm going. But in the meantime, I am putting this on a t-shirt for myself. And I am going to be using ink so that it is permanent. Our transfers are made out of vinyl, which is the teal, silkscreen, which you're seeing through to the backer sheet, and they are adhesive back. And the silkscreen, make sure when we apply the paste or the chalk that it goes through very finely and gives us an awful lot of detail for our projects. You know what? I think that looks pretty good.
Want to make sure that there aren't any air bubbles. Make sure it's nice and smooth so the ink can go through evenly.
I am going to use Current Jam ink on this. And what's the number one rule when we're inking? Make sure you don't have ink on your hands. Because if you do, you could accidentally get it on your surface or your fabric. And ink, once heat set, is permanent.
This stencil is back in our special section. It is greatly reduced. It is from last year. I'm going to show you how to apply the ink to it. I'm using a squeegee and just applying the ink and then smoothing it over all the silkscreen areas of the stencil. It really is that simple. Generally with ink, I'll go over it twice just to give the fabric time to absorb the ink a little bit. I do have an ink mat between my layers of my shirt here. If you don't have an ink mat, you could use a cardboard. Just remember, before you heat set, remove the cardboard or the ink mat. Do not heat set with them in place.
Our ink mats can be cut. I'm using the 18 by 18 inch ink mat right now though, because this is a little bit of a large size of a shirt, kind of loose and baggy. Our 18 inch works great for our 18 inch pillows too, and we also have a more narrow ink mat that you can get. Generally I will cut them to size. The narrow one I'll cut pretty much for the size of a transfer, and I suppose I could have actually used that one instead of this tonight. So I'm just going back over again, making sure the silk screen's really covered. I want to make sure that my ink gets absorbed into the fabric beneath it. When I lift this, I'll be very careful to make sure that I've got good coverage everywhere. If I don't, I'll go back over it. And then once the ink is dry or no longer tacky, I will actually heat press it or heat set it. I know I just grabbed a little bit more ink here. I probably didn't need to. But I will heat set it. You can use an iron or you can use an actual heat press. This seems like it's drying pretty quick, so I am adding a little bit more here. If you use an iron, you pick the fabric, you set it for the appropriate fabric, the temperature for the appropriate fabric, and then you put a piece of parchment paper over your inked surface and you iron it for 4 minutes, and you keep the iron moving. Don't let it sit, just keep it moving over the whole project over and over again. If you're going to use a heat press, set your heat press to the time and the temperature for your particular fabric. And you use the parchment paper there too. And then when you're done, turn it inside out and repeat the process. Fill time. I'm going to pull this off starting at the top. Always pick up from the top, the bottom, the left or the right. Never pull or tug on your corners because you could actually stretch or distort the transfer. But they're actually pretty resilient. Ooh, that looks pretty nice. So far, so good. There we go. Not bossy, aggressively helpful. That's what I am, and I'm sticking with it. Finger check, I'm okay. Now, I'll set this aside. I'll keep the ink mat in, and I'll set it aside probably overnight. Let it dry. I could hit it with a drying tool or a hair dryer if I wanted to speed up the process a little bit.
I've created a cart link so that you could check out the supplies that were needed for this project. It includes the stencil, the Not Bossy stencil, 1 packet of ink in Cadet, which is a dark blue. The jam that I used here is not available as individual packets right now, and a squeegee. And that's really all that you need to do. It is so much fun to ink. If you want to add the ink mats to your order, you can go ahead and do them, but I did not include them in the cart link. Think about getting some people together, have an inking party. That's a lot of fun, and it's so easy to do. And if you want to dry them and heat set them at the same time, just use a hair dryer to dry the ink until it's not tacky. Place a piece of parchment paper over and then heat set with an iron or a heat press. It really is that simple.
It goes a long way. So it's easy. Any questions, drop me a line. I'm happy to help out or whatever. I love chalking / inking. To me, it's fun. It's a way for me to relax. I don't think it's a great outlet for me. It gives me time to chill a little bit, have some fun, and create beautiful things. Thank you all so much for watching.